once upon a time in our history, revelation was authoritative and what the church had to say about things was really important, and that was the guide for life. But then the age of reason came in, and then reason became authoritative and the way we think about things, and it was all about the brain. And Christians obediently followed and said, well, let's start making objective arguments with secular reasoning, right? Because it's the age of reason and it works. Nietzsche was right, it wasn't going to work for long. Because you find out that your reason, when untethered from something stable like God, is just what you think. And that's what's happened. We're in a situation now where the authority is not reason, it's not God, it's you. It's how you feel about things. And so we are walked into an age now of full-blown self-worship. The age of self. They exchanged the truth about God for the lie. They worshipped and served creature rather than Creator, who is blessed forever. And it turns out that this whole business of suppressing the truth is a protection racket for something. Because if the truth about God is known, then my position as Creator gets dethroned. My position, as Nietzsche said, must we not ourselves become gods, simply to appear worthy of it? What's it? The death of God. It's a great big protection racket so that I can put myself on the highest pedestal. It's the age of, it's the timeless sin of the human race. Adam and Eve, what was the sin? To be as gods, it says in Genesis 3. Our culture is in the throes of this. It's the age of self-love, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-care, being my best self, and the selfie. It's all about self. It's a generation in which, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the word identity is used more than any other. What's the identity? It's just who I am. And that word is all pervasive. Why? Because we care about self. We care about who I am. It's the generation, that's decommissioned blasphemy laws. Laws that said you couldn't insult God. And what's in its place? Vilification laws. Laws that say you can't insult my sense of identity. Is that not worship of creature rather than creator? Is that not a reversal of the very kind that this section is talking about? And so the worst sins you can commit in this generation, firstly, is judging. Don't judge. Because being me is a much higher priority than being judged by haters who hold me back. And what I need to do is tell myself I'm beautiful, powerful, and enough, and move on and shake it off. And we've fallen into the trap of thinking that principle of wisdom about hypocrisy that Jesus gave us says we cannot make wise conclusions about anything. And we can't make wise conclusions about whether something is right or wrong, or whether a person might be doing right or wrong. Can't judge, don't judge. There's no standard other than me. And if you judge me, you hate me. If you judge me, you're tearing me down. Another sin in this generation is telling the truth. How often have we heard the cry, I'm offended? Well, good. Sometimes we need to be offended. It's called character, change, realizing you're wrong, changing, moving on, moving upwards. No, but offended, I'm offended, is the ultimate barrier to progressing with the conversation. Do you imagine what this does to the way a new generation reads the Bible? What does the Bible say about itself? It's a sword that pierces. It's a mirror that shows up our faults so that we might change. You don't look in a mirror and see your tie crooked or your hair out of place and fail to fix it. And the Bible's meant to continually show us those things that we might fix. It's meant to be a fire and a hammer to break hard hearts into pieces and to purify people. Do you know what? In a world in which, even the subject-object difference between, me and other things, a world that's been turned on its head says, no, I don't like that verse, I'll just read the other one. No, I prefer these scriptures and not those scriptures. And I feel as though we've obediently gone down that line with culture as we've actually started, I was in the Koorong gift section the other day. No offense to Koorong. Better be careful. It's a great shop. Awesome shop. Shop there. I was in the Koorong gift section the other day, and it's interesting. You never have, vengeance is mine, I will repay on any of the gifts. You never have any verses that talk about anything that doesn't make you feel good. And I think we've believed that the gospel has bad bits. That the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men is not good. That we should go easy on that. It's all true, It's all good. It's all supremely good, actually. I'm so glad that vengeance is God's and he will repay. I can't imagine a world without justice. I was at a youth camp a while ago and they said, how can a good, loving God judge people? I said, how can he not? Are you serious? So Hitler was just a mistake? By the way, he's someone who followed his dreams. But anyway, that's another story. It's not good advice. Don't give it to kids. But that means Hitler's just a mistake and there's no justice. That means what this guy did up in Brisbane to his wife and children, there's no justice. There is justice. There is justice and it makes us all live differently. It's a wonderful thing. All truth is good truth. But in a culture where we no longer see wisdom in the fear of God, but we say that which will give meaning and direction for my life is the promotion of myself. We've inverted the whole thing. And that is foolishness by a biblical definition. And that's exactly what we see. We see actually a world that has lost its mind. Professing to be wise, they became fools, says Paul. Do you know, I used to own, when I was a kid, one of my first ever laptops. I was a huge fan of Lamborghinis. There was a time in my life when I thought I might own a Lamborghini one day. Those days are gone. It's all right, I'll drive a Kia instead. It's fine. My treasures are in heaven. But I had a Lamborghini laptop as a substitute for the real thing. I went to the International Motor Show, went to the Lamborghini section as like a 12-year-old, and I bought a Lamborghini laptop and Lamborghini cufflinks. And this Lamborghini laptop was made of carbon fibre. It had leather, black leather with yellow stitching. It had a genuine Lamborghini, badge on it. And when you turned it on, it revved like a Lamborghini engine. And I loved that thing. And do you know what? It was actually one of the best laptops on the market. I had to save up. It was very, very powerful, very, very expensive. But one day I was typing particularly quickly on that laptop. And as I was going for it, my finger somehow got caught under one of the keys and it snapped right off. And would you believe it, it was the E key. Do you know how hard it is to use a computer, no matter how good it is, no matter how much firepower it has, with no E key? You can't even say yes, you can't do anything. And I was in a real pickle. And do you know what? In a culture that said no to God and suppressed the truth about him, it's like we've lost the E key. We can never make sense. It doesn't matter how much firepower we put into the issue, there'll always be a flaw. It doesn't matter how clever those scientists on the Large Hadron Collider are, they'll never find God, and therefore they'll never find the answers. That's the reality of our time. And the result is chaos and destruction. And we are living in a culture that is losing its mind because its mind is not governed by the knowledge of God. What is moral? I say what's moral. How often do you hear people say we did what was right for us? I did what was right for me. Number one justification for family breakdown was right for me. Well, who cares? What about what was right? Happens to be a different thing. What's best for my life? It's to discover myself, follow my dreams, love myself. Boy, we wonder why we're raising a generation of narcissistic and fairly unfriendly people. It's no surprise. What causes should I join? I was talking to Steve about this before. Climate change, right, is the big cause. Why? It doesn't require anything of me. It's such a big issue. It's so far out of my control that all I have to do is get angry and go to a protest. I don't have to change my character. I don't have to check myself in any way whatsoever. It's easy. Those are the issues, the things that don't confront me. How should I conduct my sexuality? That's the example that Paul gives. And he gives it here because it's actually the thing that is obviously not right because of our biology. When we say God is not the creator and my biology doesn't matter and my anatomy is irrelevant, we do what we want. But we've taken it a step further in modern society. I've said I'm 6'7" with hairy hands, but I'm a woman and I'm beautiful, and you'll tell me that I am. Right? We've actually started to say, no, we're all creators now. We're in the seat of God. And what we say will go. And in such a society, the volcano of human nature erupts, unchecked, unleashed. There is no limit on what people will do. And when people don't have a limit on what they will do, I tell you what, the true nature of the self comes out. And this is really where Christianity bumps up against culture in so many ways. I'd said in a conversion therapy interview with 60 Minutes, although it went straight over their heads, I think, but I said, look, the difference in this really is what is it that is good and reliable, and what is it that we should pursue in order to be happy and to live a good life? Is it in here, or is it up there? Is it me, self, identity? Is it doubling down, or is it to say, no, I give all that away and I sacrifice myself, as Romans 12 says. Give it all up. Why? For the knowledge of God and the calling of God on my life. I'm same-sex attracted. Well, big deal. It's very important that, we acknowledge all of that, but it doesn't change the fact that me, as someone who's not same-sex attracted, has to live the same life as the same-sex attracted person. None of us get to follow our sexual desires, whatever they may be, because we follow God. And, Christopher was on ABC Radio the other day, and they said, can you not understand how that somebody, might feel really offended and that you've questioned them in their inner identity? And he said, well, of course, because that's my story. The fact that, I am not good and not okay. The fact that there's something wrong with me and I need Christ and his forgiveness. That was said to me by a leading LGBT activist who, she said, look, she said, you shouldn't even bother trying to make churches LGBT friendly because no one wants to walk into a building and find out that there's something terribly wrong with them. And I said, but there is something terribly wrong with them. And the room just sort of nearly freaked out just for a second. And I said, no. I said, there's something wrong with all of us. There's something wrong with me. I'm a sinner before God. And I need his salvation. And Jesus himself, this is the difference. This is the difference. Where is good? What is to be pursued? What is worthy? Self or something outside of self? I often say to people, really we only as human beings get a single compliment in the whole Bible. And I challenge you to find another one. There's only one. And my goodness, we love it. We repeat it all the time. We cling to this compliment. We are made in the image and likeness of God. Hey, that's enough. Yeah, unfortunately, you turn the page and things change. There was a fall. And every descriptive word of the human condition is negative. People who are dead in trespasses and in sins. People who are walking according to the prince of the power of the air, it says. People whose righteousnesses are as filthy rags. People, none that does good, no, not one. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. We have reprobate minds, whatever that means. Love quoting the King James. It's up there with superfluity of naughtiness. It says that. But actually, we are sinners. And we've lost sight of that too, I think. Pagan culture infects us and makes us think too highly of ourselves and cling to too much of ourselves. And do you know what that always does? It brings God down from his throne, slowly. And if the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, we are in danger of losing our minds. And we are in danger of walking down this pathway of darkness, even just a little bit, that Paul describes in a world that's lost its mind.